The format for almost all certification exams are going to be in the format of first a series of questions that are multiple choice, just asking you about different features. Then we're going to be creating some parts, and most of the time we're going to be taking that same part and then modifying that part several different times and then weighing it and putting the values in or choosing a multiple choice answer. So here's an example. So here's the first part of the sample exam I've already created. And you can see over here I'm using some equations, and I have equations for A, B, and C down here. And the material is 1020 steel, and I'm in the millimeter gram second unit system. So that's where I'm going to be when I create that part. Now, as soon as I go to the next part here, I'm going to click tile horizontally and then choose the next part, which is 4.1. Take a look at that one. Now, it's exactly the same part, except the values have changed inside of these equations. So I want to edit these equations, right click, manage equations, and I'm just going to change these values here to change that part from one part to the next. Now, if you didn't happen to use equations, you're going to have to go back into that sketch and modify those individual dimensions. So it's a lot easier if you choose equations right from the beginning and save those values. So now what they're going to ask me to do is to weigh that part. So I'm going to go over here to mass properties. Now, if you don't have this toolbar, it's very easy to add. So just right click anywhere in this gray area up here, right click, and come down to tools. There they are, tools, and turn that toolbar on, make sure that's on. Once you turn that toolbar on, it's going to show up somewhere on your screen. I happen to like docking it over here to the right, but you can set it anywhere you want. You can dock it to the top, you can dock it to the bottom, you can dock it to the right. So choose a nice location for that toolbar. You're going to use that a lot throughout the certification process. So click on mass properties. Make sure that we have the right density and the right material. So over here we have 1020 steel, and notice the mass is 1032.32, and notice there's a 2-place decimal. For instance, if you don't see a 2-place decimal, go up to options and make sure you're saying millimeters with 2-place decimals. Use custom settings, because if you have a 3-place decimal, the rounding's going to be a little bit different and you're not going to get the right answer. So make sure you're only using 2 places and let SOLIDWORKS do the 2-place for you. Don't do rounding on your own. So there it is, a couple simple things there. Next thing is they're going to take that same part and make another modification to it. So let's click on tile horizontal again, and I'm going to look at 5.1. Now I've taken that same part, we've cut some of this material out through the center of here, and we've cut some material out here as well. So same part again, a couple modifications. So again, we're going to be changing these equations, a couple different values here, and then adding these cuts to the assembly. So that's basically the format you're going to be seeing in the exam. Start with a part, modify it again, weigh it, or find the center of mass. The last one I want to show is an assembly. So in this case here, there's a zip file that you're going to download from their website. We're going to open the parts and then create an assembly. Make sure when you're creating an assembly, we choose the right part as our starting point. This happens to be the pin here. And notice the origin of this, right there at the top, is the same origin as the assembly. So when you start a part, and I'm going to open this one up, click on File, Open. The best way to start an assembly is go up to File, Make Assembly from Part. I'm going to choose a template and click OK. And that's going to put the origin of the part right at the origin. So notice the origin of the assembly and then the origin of the part happen to also be in the same location. That's very, very, very important, because when we find the center of mass of that assembly, it's going to be defined based upon the origin. So make sure that origin is in the correct location. Normally, the very first part will have the origin at the same location as the assembly, but verify that in the exam. This is the format you're going to be seeing in the exam. Hopefully, these few examples will give you at least a good understanding of the process of what we're going to be doing in the exam and how best to prepare for taking the exam.